speaker. So tonight we have the amazing, actually, I can't believe it, but I think this is the first time that we've had Becca on our Shine Tribe team call. So I don't know why it's taking me this long, but I'm so excited to have her. If you guys don't know, I'm sure you all do, but Becca is my sponsor coach. She's my mentor and my upline and my friend. And she's the founder of Team BTFP, the Arrow Tribe. She is an elite coach. She's a 13-star diamond coach, and she's just, what can I say? She's got an adorable little boy. And I've had the privilege of having her as my mentor for about 2.5 years now. And I just really appreciate our relationship and the way that she's poured into my life. But I've been thinking about this mentor-mentee relationship, and I feel like it's kind of a little bit like a marriage. It needs a little bit of time, and it takes work, and you have to have trust. And, you know, as much as we would all like to just sign up under someone and instantly have like this amazing mentor-mentee relationship, it's something that has to be worked at and cultivated. And so this is going to be, I think, a really fun call where we can share a little bit from both sides of the relationship and hopefully help you, because we all want to be both things, right? You want to be a good mentee. You want to be able to draw from your mentor as much as you can. And you also want to be a good mentor. You want to start attracting people and be a good leader for them. So I think no matter where you are, you can learn from this call. So without further ado, Becca, if you want to unmute, I wanted to begin by sharing a little bit of our story of how our relationship began. It was a cold night, and no, I'm just kidding. So basically I cold messaged Becca. Like, she never invited me or anything. I just messaged her after seeing a few of her posts.
The dream.
Yeah. And we didn't really know each other. Did you even know who I was? Was it just like totally a random name?
No, well, I knew who Fernando was.
Okay.
So when you said you were his wife, I kind of, like, I had an association.
Yeah.
But we had never met.
Right. So my first question for Becca, this is going to be like a Q&A night, guys. So my first question for Becca is, so what kind of coach were you hoping to attract back in that time? I don't know if it's changed since then. And how did that influence your social media posts? Because obviously you attracted me. And so just give me the back side of that whole thing.
Okay. So let's see. That was February of 2014. So I had really only been a coach for like 7-8 months. And I would say I was still trying to figure out, as far as like the big picture of where I wanted to go, I was still trying to figure out my voice. But I knew from day one that I wanted to make this a business, and I wanted to do it as quickly as possible. So I was not afraid to post about my business successes, where I wanted to go, all that kind of stuff, right from the very beginning. I mean, even before I had any significant weight loss. By the time that February came around, I had had some good business successes. I had promoted to Diamond that fall. I'd lost rank and got it back, so I was feeling good that I had gotten it back. I had earned a spot on the Success Club trip that was happening shortly after Vanessa called me, and I think I had already been talking about that. I think I earned the free, I'm pretty sure Success Starters was a thing. I actually don't remember. But if it was, I would have earned the free ticket to Summit. Anyway, all that to say, I think that I was just going through a lot of the leadership trainings myself with Lindsay. So I hadn't really narrowed in a lot on like who my key person was, other than the fact that I knew that I would attract a lot of frazzled moms. That was kind of where I was talking to the most, because that's who I was right then. And I think that I still tend to attract a lot of frazzled moms / parents now. So I think that is who really connected with me the most in the very beginning, because I was talking a lot about postpartum body, finally being able to lose all of the baby weight, figuring out my new self, like who am I now after I've had a baby, what, like relearning my body, all that kind of stuff. So even though I might not have had it as clearly defined as now that I've had time to really think about stuff and learn who I work well with and what I want to do and all that kind of stuff. In the beginning, I just knew that I could help women who were like me. And so I just spoke from my own point of view and ended up talking to a lot of them. And in a very short amount of time, Vanessa signed up, Lisa Sears signed up, Jess Frisch signed up, Sarah Matthews signed up. There were a lot of women who were about the same age that were all kind of at the same point in life that were very much trying to like figure out what happens now in my life. So I think that was an audience that I spoke to a lot back then.
Yeah. So from my side, what attracted me to you, Becca.
Not trying to say that you're super frazzled, Vanessa.
No. I mean, no. I was.
I got hot messes. You get no.
That was totally me. And I definitely, okay, here's just a little side note though. Guys, this just speaks to the consistency that you need to have in your business, because Becca started coaching in August, right? I didn't even, and I followed her photography. Like that's the whole reason why I became friends with her, is because I guess a while ago I had seen some beautiful pictures that she posted, and I was like, oh, I'm going to follow this girl. And so I'd been following her for a while, but I didn't see any fitness posts at all from her until December. And she started coaching in August. And then I didn't sign up until February. So if you are in your first few months of coaching and you're thinking, nobody's seeing this, nobody's liking this isn't working, stick it out, because there are people like me who, it might take 7-8 months for them to find you. So anyways, that's just a side note. But what attracted me to you, Becca, were your photos, obviously, that were super eye-catching and just had that whole free spirit vibe, which just spoke to me. But let me tell you, even more than your photos, because I know sometimes people can think, well, I'm not a photographer, so I'm not going to be like reaching people or being that impactful. More than your photos, because there's a lot of people who have nice photos, but I don't feel like I connect to them. It was your vulnerability, the way that you shared vulnerably about where you were at in your fitness journey, and that you just opened up into these areas of life that we can all relate to, but don't often talk about. And so those types of posts, I would read them and I would feel like I kind of knew you because of that. And then just your sense of humor. And then the last thing that really mostly attracted me to the business side is I had never seen multi-level marketing business owner do things the way you did and share in the way that you did. And it almost was like seamless between your life and your business. There was no like, this is my life, and then big corporate photos of products and stuff like that. And I didn't even think about it back then the way that I do now, but that really was a big like draw to me, because I was like, well, if she's doing multi-level marketing, like I could do that. Like that's not icky and disgusting and like totally whatever. So that is what attracted me to you initially as my mentor. Definitely worked your posts. So my second question to you though is, as far as being a mentor, because your mentor is Lindsay Matway, she's your sponsor coach, has a huge team. How did your experience with her as your upline sort of shape what kind of mentor you became?
So I think this has happened in phases, like a natural evolution. So I signed up under Lindsay the year that she was top coach. So it was a very busy, big year for her. And then my kind of first full year, 2014, was like the year that she was getting all of like the attention from it, right? Because everybody was like, okay, now they really know who she is. So I think that for me, I definitely had much less of a relationship with her than I was able to give to my coaches, especially my first year and a half, 2 years. And I didn't like that or dislike it. I remember thinking, well, like I can really pour into these people and I can really talk to them a lot and I can keep track of their businesses because I didn't have a lot of them, where Lindsay couldn't. And every now and then, you know, when I would want to be coddled by Lindsay or want to have her fix the problem for me or want to have her manage my business for me and she wouldn't do it, I would get frustrated and I'd be like, I'm not going to do that with my coaches. I'm going to be so much more there and available and all this kind of stuff, when really she was teaching me valuable lessons. And I got myself into some trouble by hand-holding people too much and then having them never learn how to take care of their businesses on their own. So it happened in phases. So in the beginning, I kind of rebelled against it and I wanted to kind of like be the opposite and be like everybody's best friend and everybody's manager. Like I would watch people's downlines and send them like updates like, hey, watch out, so-and-so's going inactive. And really like micromanage everybody. But I thought I was doing them a favor. But then that started to turn around and bite me in the ass a year or so later when, you know, our team kept growing. And now I had not only my personally sponsored coaches, but now downline coaches to help and encourage. And when I stepped back a little bit, some of the coaches that I had been doing that to, their businesses just fell apart because they'd never learned how to be independent and be responsible for their businesses themselves. And they had never learned how to find answers for themselves or how to lead groups for themselves and how to talk about the business for themselves, because I'd always just done it for everybody. So then I feel like I was able to see a little bit better why Lindsay did what she did. So I think that it is a very unique experience being the personally sponsored coach of a top coach, just because they have so many demands on their time. I mean, she was being flown out to speak, and she still is, because like once you're a top coach, it's kind of like a president. Once you're president, like everybody always knows you from there on out. Like once you're top coach, you're never going to go to Summit and not have people, you know, wanting to see you. Like on the Success Club trip, I think I saw her like for 5 minutes for like the whole first 48 hours. And then the only reason I saw her longer than that is because she invited me to dinner. But literally I didn't see her because she was being whisked away to everything that she had to speak at. And she always had crowds around her. So it wasn't like we got to hang out all the time. And so I think that was good for me because it forced me to be really independent. It forced me to forge strong success partner bonds so that I could have people that I could kind of like call on at any time of day. I mean, even still at this point, I love Lindsay and she's an incredible mentor, but if I send her a message, I don't ever expect something back quicker than a day, like, or at least 2 days. So unless like I need something and I'm like 911, answer me right now, please help, like texting her, Facebook messaging her, she just doesn't get back to me that quickly, and she never has. And a lot of us, it's the same way. Like I know Morgan has been like, I never message Lindsay or talk to Lindsay unless it's an absolute emergency. So it really forced a lot of us to be independent. But at the same time, Lindsay, if you look at Lindsay, she is like a leader factory. She's got like 60 something diamond coaches. She's got tons of elites. She's got tons of millionaires. And I think that a lot of it has to do with the fact that if you think you're signing up with a top coach and you're going to be able to have a successful business just because of that, you're wrong. Like, it's the opposite. If anything, you're going to get less attention, less help, less hand-holding, less babying. You're going to have to figure it out because top coaches are too busy for all of that kind of thing. So it taught me definitely a lot in that experience too, just starting off opposite and then having, I mean, Vanessa can even tell you, I think a couple of weeks ago, I had to make a post in one of my Diamonds pages that was like, I hope no one feels like I'm ignoring you, but with the size of our team, like if you need me, you need to tell me. Like, I can't read your mind. I can't micromanage your business. Don't feel like if I don't randomly message you all the time, I'm not thinking of you. But with how many people there are now, like I have to work with the willing, and I need to know if you need something. So I can see now a lot more how, and I'm not even at Matt Way status or anything, but I can see a lot more how that is and how important it is to not be too available and too handholdy from the beginning as a mentor.
Mhm. Okay, so she wasn't able to like coddle you and, do lots of one-on-one calls and heart-to-hearts, but what do you think that Lindsay did do as a mentor that helped you to thrive? What do you think her strengths are as a mentor? How does she impact you?
Yes, you just have to call for me, okay? But I want you to try and do it yourself. I think I was just talking to Katie Hefner about this. I think that one of the things that's really incredible about Lindsay is that she just inspires a lot of hard work. Like, you just kind of want to impress her. So people tend to work really hard for her and they don't want to let her down. And I think a lot of that is because she is so hands off as a mentor, because you like want to get on her radar. You know what I mean? And so you're like, I want to have those high points so she recognizes me. I want to hold my rank because I want her to know that I'm a leader. I want to do these different things. And I think that that is something that inspires a lot of people to kind of like level up, instead of her constantly coming down to our level and pulling us through the mud. She just stays up at her level and it forces everybody to level up. I liken it a lot to when I was in 9th grade. I had been playing volleyball for a few years and I tried out for the varsity team at my high school, and they were like a state championship team, like a really competitive team. And I wanted so badly to be on it. And I was kind of not exactly good enough. So I tried out, and the coach who had been, watching me for a couple years on JV and kind of grooming a few of us, she came to me and she said, all right, I'm going to give you 2 options. You're not really at the level that you need to be to play varsity on our team, but I see a lot of potential in you. So I'm willing to give you a spot on the varsity team. No, if you say yes, know that you probably won't play this season. You'll probably be on the bench the whole time, but you'll get to practice with us. You'll get to come to all the games with us. You'll be on the team. Or you can do another year on JV and you'll probably be a starter and you'll probably be the star of the team, but you'll be the best one there. So you won't grow as much. And I chose to go up to varsity because I wanted to be with all those people and on that team. And it was a huge learning experience for me, because when you're with people who are better than you, who don't baby you, it forces you to be better because you want to rise to that level, right? You're working. I know. Go ahead. You're working up to that level. And when you're around them, you learn so much more because they're better than you. So you're learning new moves, you're learning new techniques, you're learning perseverance, you're learning endurance. Whereas if you're just always the best one there, nothing's forcing you to be better. You're actually sometimes getting worse because you might get lazy, you might rest on your laurels. And I think it's very similar with Lindsay. Like, being one of Lindsay's coaches, hanging out with Lindsay and some of the other leaders from the Bombshell Dynasty, it forces you to level up, right? Like, you want to get on their level. Whereas being the best doesn't really help you do that at all. You're just kind of already at the top. So I think that for me, that was kind of one of the big things she taught me, was that it's okay to be really good at what you do and not dumb yourself down and not kind of baby people around you to make them feel better, because you want them to feel uncomfortable. You want them to get outside of their comfort zone and level up to the next level. And that was something that it took a little while for me to have the confidence as a coach to do that, because I was afraid, like, oh my God, what if everybody quits and then I have no team? But I think that it's something that is really important. And while people can have the same reaction that I did at the beginning, which is like, hey, I expected you to like do all this stuff for me and run all my sneak peeks for me because you're the best coach. And of course they're going to want to listen to you and not me. And I expected to just bring my challengers into your challenge group all the time. And I expected you to remind me that my husband was going inactive so I didn't lose rank, those kind of things. To not do that, it really forces people to step up to that next level and rise up. So I think that was something really important.
Nice. That's awesome. Okay, so I would love to share a little bit about how I've benefited from your mentorship, Becca. And this is like my favorite part of the call, because I'm just going to brag on you for the next couple of minutes here. So I did come into Becca's team pretty early, and she did have a lot of like one-on-one calls at the beginning and stuff like that. And those are great. But to be quite honest, the most way that I've benefited from Becca's mentorship is in her modeling, just watching how she runs her business and getting to see some of the behind the scenes. And so there are three things that I've really just gained from Becca. First is her work ethic. I remember she invited me onto the Success Club trip 2 years ago. I had earned the trip, but I didn't get off the wait list. And her husband couldn't come because he had some conflict that he had already like committed to do something. So I was able to go. And I was kind of like kicking back in vacation mode, like super excited just to be there. And Becca was like taking many photo shoots, of course. She already had like a sneak peek set up. She had a tiny URL set up to go to the sneak peek. She was taking notes for her team on the announcements. She was working from her laptop every night. I was just kind of like, so we're going to like watch TV or something. I look over and she's like tapping away on her laptop. And it really, like, it's so true what she said. It caused me, just without her saying a word, it caused me to be like, oh, this is what like a top coach does. It made me just look at what I was doing and how seriously I was taking the business and realize there's a whole nother level here that I need to move up to. And so that was really eye-opening just to see her work ethic, and definitely challenged me. And then the next thing was her strong, positive spirit. So I was supposed to go diamond like around my middle of the year, July, I think. And the second emerald that I needed, you know, I was kind of a newish coach, and I didn't check that he had his coaches on opposite legs. And he had signed up 2 coaches on the same leg. So he never went emerald and I never went diamond, even though I was so excited because he told me, hey, I got my second coach. And, you know, I was messaging with Becca. We were trying to see if we could get it fixed. She was working as hard as she could to fix, you know, the situation. But at the end of the day, when it wasn't able to happen, she was still so full of positivity and grace. And it was like just such an example to me of, we do everything we can do. And then if it's still like, if we can't make it happen, we're going to move forward and we're going to get there eventually. And just that positive, strong spirit. She didn't crumble. She didn't fall apart. She didn't get upset at me, which she could have. But, you know, she was just such a strong spirit and a positive force, and just like, we're not giving up, but we're not going to like be down in the dumps either. And that really spoke a lot to me and how I wanted to lead my team. And then the last thing that I really benefited from Becca's mentorship is just the ability that she has to dream big, and how she always is sharing her goals for her business, her dreams for her business. And sometimes I would just be like shocked and like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she's shooting for that. Like, that's crazy. But at the same time, a little bit of me was like, well, if she can do it, like maybe I can do it too. And, you know, just giving me the permission to dream big and to set big goals for myself and for my team. And so even without, like, none of that came from a one-on-one call. None of that came from like her like formally teaching me these things. It was just me watching her and pulling out these little lessons from my interactions with her. So I've just benefited so much from her mentorship, both formally and informally, just gleaning from her. So thank you. Thank you for that.
I do remember that. I forgot that until you just said it, but I remember that with that guy.
Yeah.
On the one leg and we couldn't get it switched. I think it was beyond the window.
Yeah. It was past the 3 days, and yeah. But, you know, we moved on and everything just works out. So, but I think I was kind of watching you for like how to respond. Like if you would have fallen apart, I would have fallen apart too. But you were like, that's okay. We'll you know, we'll figure it out. We'll try again. And so I was like, okay, we'll figure it out. We'll try again, you know? And it was just that great teaching moment for me.
It's kind of like with your kids when they fall down and you know they're not really hurt, but they kind of like look at you to watch if you're going to freak out and be like, oh, are you okay? Oh my gosh. And you're just like, you're fine. Get up. You're okay. And they're like, okay. It's kind of the same way. I mean, there were so many times where I missed goals or whatever. And Lindsay was like, yeah, that sucks. Like, you have two options, like quit and then definitely don't get your goal, or wake up and try again tomorrow and be closer than before. And, you know, it's just one of those things, I think that it can be so easy in this business to miss a goal and just let it completely defeat you, because it's so frustrating when you miss a goal, especially if it's over something silly, like he didn't place someone right, we missed the window, like, but I mean, the cool thing about this business is if you miss a goal, you can literally hit it in 6 more days. You know, like you have the whole next week. And there's so many times I have coaches miss diamond because of something so silly, and I know that they'll hit it the next week, and they're so sad, and it's so frustrating when you think you're going to hit it to have to wait another week. But I think just having, one of the things Lindsay taught me was just having that kind of ride or die mentality, like, all right, next week it is. And I'm going to learn to pay more attention so that I don't have to do this again in the future. Learn that lesson the hard way lots of times.
Yes. So do you have any mentors from afar, like mentors who aren't specifically like in connection with you or in contact with you, but just from watching their life? How have you learned, either inside or outside of Beachbody?
It's like mentors who don't know they're my mentors.
Exactly.
I do. And I think that, I think it's kind of natural in teams that share as well as our team does and our Upline team does. But let's see, who are some of them? Brittany Leggett is one that I learned a ton from, because she is an incredibly talented, I don't know if you guys have heard Lindsay talk about this, how Lindsay says coaches are either preachers or teachers. You guys ever heard her say that in calls? That people kind of fall into one category. You're either like a rah, 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 we can do it, let's go. Or you're here's exactly how you do it. This is what you do. Here's what you do next. Here's what you do. You kind of fall into those two camps. Lindsay and I are preachers. We're like, let's go. You could do it. Here's a motivational video. Here's some great quotes. Brittany Leggett is a teacher. So if you look Brittany Leggett up on YouTube, it's like, here's exactly how you hit elite. Here's how you figure out how many Shakeologies on each D you need to make an income goal, like, and breaks it all down. And she's really good at that. And since that is not my natural inclination, I learn a lot from her on how to learn stuff well enough to teach it to other people. When I was a new coach, I would go and I would watch her videos on repeat, especially about stuff like income and volume and TVCs and elite. The first year that I was pushing for elite, I watched her video like 10 times in a row until I could explain it enough to you, Vanessa, and the other people on our team that were asking me, like, well, how do I push for a premiere? And I was like, I don't think I understand this well enough to talk about it yet. Like, I barely understand it enough for me to push for it. So I knew I had to learn, because when you're a coach, you have coaches under you that need to know what's going on. So it forces you to level up, it forces you to have to learn it well enough to not only do it yourself, but to explain it to somebody else. So Brittany Leggett, I learned a lot from her. I always try and like sneak stuff out of my friends that I know are on her team. I'm like, how did she do that? How did she do this? What did she post for this? Send me a screenshot. Let's see. I learned a lot from her. I learn a lot from, who are some of the other coaches in the Bombshell Dynasty that I learn a lot from? I learn a lot from Brujita Linford. I don't know if you guys follow her. She's under Scotty Hobbs. She's in some of the Bombshell Dynasty leadership groups, and she just has a really unique perspective on the business, because she's kind of like in a different branch of the Bombshell Dynasty that's all broken off from Scotty Hobbs. So they're like super pearls and super family-centered and stuff like that. And she just always has a really great, touching, empathetic answer for every struggle that people have. So I love watching how she responds to stuff. And in the Dynasty Wall, which is a group that you guys can get added to when you're 3-star and above, that's all the leaders in the entire dynasty. So like Melanie Mitro, Scotty Hobbs, Brigida, Katie, Bonnie, everybody's in there. It's a great group for resources, because all the leaders share their best practices, and she'll come in and answer questions, and they're always just beautifully done. And I always am like, oh, that's so good. Like I'm writing it down, saving it for the future. Let's see, who else? I really love how Chelsea Pearson, who is a coach that's not on our team, but is actually in Central Florida near me, how she builds community. She's very community centered. She's a Pearl personality as well. So I love to see how she hosts her retreats and the things that she does for them, and like the little games and stuff she's playing for her coaches, and how she trains, because she trains much more volume based than rank based, which is very different from the Bombshell Dynasty, which is very rank centric. So that's really interesting to me. And then a mentor who's not a Beachbody coach is an author named Danielle Laporte, who I really, really, really love. She actually is a real mentor. Before she got really famous, I had hired her for a one-on-one mentoring session about my photography business. And so I got to do an actual mentoring session like over the phone with her. And she sent me this little card afterward. You can see it? That hangs on my wall. It says, claim your space. And it's always been my little mantra because I was afraid to put myself out there. And so she sent me that after we talked. And I love to watch her writing and all of her social media, because she just has a really beautiful perspective on building a business that is based in your passions that you're really excited about. So I guess those are the people. I learned from lots of coaches. I actually don't follow a lot of coaches. So on Instagram, I don't follow hardly any coaches because I don't want to lose track of what I want to say and how I want to show the business, just because I'm constantly seeing how other people do it. So Instagram is like my coach free zone. So when I get on Instagram, I just follow brands that I like, people that I like, photographers that I like. I have a few coaches that I follow that I find really inspiring, or that are friends in real life, and I just want to know what they're doing in their life. Facebook, obviously, I'm connected to tons of coaches, but I actually have my newsfeed turned off. So I really don't see what most coaches say there either, unless I'm on my phone. So most of what I get is from leadership groups that I'm in Facebook, like the Wall and the Dynasty Wall and our Diamonds page and stuff like that, which is really nice. So if you are constantly battling with comparison, I would encourage you to be careful about how many coaches you're following, because I think that it can sink into your brain without you realizing it, and then you have a hard time being creative on your own because you're constantly copying what other people are doing, even if you don't realize you're doing it. And then everybody looks like everybody else. Actually, I sent hopefully this doesn't offend any of you guys if this is what your 4 words are. So nobody take offense. But I sent a picture to my success partners. A coach followed me on Instagram the other day, and I was looking at her account. Let me block it so you can't see her face. But her words were faith, family, what is it? Faith, family, fitness, freedom, or faith, family, fashion, freedom, which is like everybody's words because they're Lindsay Matway's words. And I was joking with my success partners, and I was like, every time I meet a coach, I want to be like, let me guess, are you interested in faith, family, fashion, and freedom? Or faith, family, fitness, and freedom? And it's not a bad thing. It's just that whether or not we realize it, we soak in a lot, of what we see and what we hear. And then sometimes we put that same stuff out there, not realizing that it's the same as everybody else's. So I purposefully don't follow a ton of people just so that I can hopefully put something that is truthful to myself out there that's not just like reiterating what 100 other coaches already said. But
so do you think because of that, it's a good idea to have some mentors outside of coaching? Like I know Marie Forleo is someone who I appreciate and I follow, and Gary Vee also. So they're not coaches, but I just like the way they run their businesses and communicate on social media and stuff.
Yes, that's what my Instagram is for. So I follow a ton of like yoga instructors, like vegan chefs. I follow a ton of the BBG girls because they have incredible, basically businesses that they have to get kickbacks somehow for how much they talk about it, but really incredible brands, and the way that they share is really great. That's not Beachbody, but still fitness related. Follow a bunch of them. gotten a lot of great ideas from them. What was that girl? Marie Forleo. She's great. Her and Danielle Laporte do a lot of stuff together. So I've watched her stuff before. There's another girl, I can't remember her name, but like her internet thing is Spiritual Junkie. She's always on Marie Forleo's stuff. I like her stuff too. I think that you can find lots of inspiration outside of coaching. And the more not like a coach that you can sound and look sometimes, I think the better. Obviously, you want people to know that you're a coach and what you're doing. But when you just post the same things as every other coach and you look just like every other coach, it's just harder for people to connect to you. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just sometimes harder for people who don't know you already to connect because they're like, well, you just look like everybody else. I don't feel any special connection to you. So sometimes it can be really inspiring to look outside of what other coaches are doing and get ideas for how to share stuff. Like a bunch of these BBG girls started doing local meetups for workouts and using this hashtag, you can sweat with us, like a play off of Mean Girls. And I was like, that's brilliant. And so I'm working on my own spinoff of that for some local fit club things. So you can use all kinds, you can find all kinds of ideas out there. I don't think it's necessarily bad to follow coaches, but I also think it's good to have like kind of a coach-free zone that you can go to for inspiration, and also so that you have a place on the internet where you're not constantly being tempted to compare yourself.
Awesome. Okay, so now this is probably going to be where most people get the most value. I want to ask you, and I have a few of my own, what are some common mistakes that young mentors have? Like when you first start getting some coaches under you and you're like, I'm going to turn these into diamonds. What are some common mistakes that young mentors can make?
Well, I'm sure I still make tons of mistakes. So these are probably all ones I'm guilty of. I think a big mistake that I watch 98% of new coaches make is to think that their first 8 coaches are going to be their team forever, and to get really upset when that doesn't turn out to be the case. And so if you're mentoring these people with the idea that you're going to turn them into all of your diamonds later on, and they're going to be your 5 diamonds for elite, it just kind of sets you up for disappointment, to be 100% honest. And it also puts a lot of pressure on that relationship with your first 8 coaches. So odds are your first 8 coaches are not going to do much in your business long term. Maybe one of them, but the rest of them will likely not be there in a year or 2, or they'll just be emeralds or discount coaches, just because it's par for the course. Like, it's not a reflection on you, it's not a reflection on them, it's just life. So when people build and they're, finding their emeralds and they're getting to diamond, and I see a lot of mentors and coaches get to diamond with these people and then stop and think, all right, now I need to build this team up. Now I need to get my emeralds to diamond. I need to get my other coaches to emeralds. And they stop working on their own business. They stop moving forward, and they just shift into mentor mode, into management mode. And then what happens is they're not bringing in anybody else. The people that are there, they just don't catch the vision. They fizzle out, they quit, whatever it is. And then they're stuck with a business that crumbles. And they basically have 2 choices, quit or rebuild. And a lot of people quit because the thought of rebuilding is really overwhelming. So I think that is kind of a common mistake, is thinking that those first 8 coaches are going to be your dream team. They may, stranger things have happened, but I think even if they do turn out to all be incredible, having a mentality of, I need to continue building and continue growing is really important. I think another mistake, one that I make, is micromanaging your coaches' downlines for them. Because you don't want to lose rank, so you don't want them to lose rank. It's a very natural feeling. And it is a very shitty feeling when you lose income or a bonus or an incentive because your coach isn't paying attention. But it is a lesson that needs to happen a lot of the time. So while I think there's nothing wrong with, if you're on the line for Elite or something, sending a message to be like, hey, your husband's about to go inactive. Just not all the time, because you don't want to be the one that's constantly checking their account for them. They need to learn that they need to log in, and they need to learn what to look for, and they need to learn how to check all of those things and how to fix them all. So as hard as it is to let people drop rank and let people miss goals because you know that it's something so simple that they could fix if they looked, sometimes you have to make the choice to tough love and not remind them and deal with it yourself, because they need to learn that you're not always going to be there to watch their business for them. I think that that's a big one. I think also going along with that, I think when you're a new coach, it is super important to pour into your team. It's where you learn how to be a mentor. It's where you learn how to lead, learn how to train. But I do think that some pitfall that is common is basically building all of you're not actually giving them customers, but basically building everybody's businesses for them. What happens is these people under you, they never learn how to go out there and do it themselves. And while they may get to Diamond, once they get to Diamond and you think they're cool and you piece out to the next people, they haven't actually learned how to have belief in themselves, learned how to run sneak peeks, how to talk to people about coaching, how to lead their own groups, because you've just been letting them join yours, or you've been doing it for them, or you've been helping them write answers. And I think that it's great to help people when you can, but there comes kind of a fine balance where you have to let people find the answers themselves, even when it makes them frustrated and mad, because, you know, you're not going to always be there to run their businesses for them. I could do a lot more for Vanessa 2 years ago than I can now. And if I had constantly told her every time something was wrong in her account, or every time, you know, there was something going on, yeah, like she might have helped rank a couple more weeks, that she dropped it, but she wouldn't have learned how to manage all of that herself and be an independent leader that can now teach you guys the same thing. You know, it would have just continued this like generational issue, which is no good. So I think that's one too. Yeah. One other one I think is, let's see, I'm trying to think the best way to explain it. One other one I think is taking your coach's failures personally as a mentor is a big mistake. Not even failures, like, because obviously I really don't believe in failure. The only failure is if you stop trying. That's really the only way to guarantee that you're not going to achieve what you want to achieve. And so then I guess it's a failure. But maybe they're slip-ups or they're missed goals, or even if they do give up and then it kind of is considered a failure. So if you take that personally and you say, well, I'm a bad mentor because all my diamonds aren't diamonds anymore, or all my emeralds fizzled out and I don't have anybody else working and it must be me, it's usually not the case. Now, you can look at that and go, what can I learn? Where can I grow as a mentor? What can I do better next time? But it doesn't mean that you're a horrible coach or a horrible leader. So there are always learning experiences. I can look at my team and go, okay, you know, here are the issues that people in my downline are having. Here are some symptomatic things. What can I do better? And I can course correct, you know, as we go. And I can become a better leader. I can talk to my success partners. I can talk to other leaders and say, how do you handle this situation? Like, maybe there's a new perspective I haven't learned. But Vanessa's business success is because of the work Vanessa does, or the work that Vanessa doesn't do. While I can give her all the tools and all of the support, she's still the one that has to go out there and talk to people and hit Success Club and lead coach sneak peeks or webinars or whatever it is that she wants to do and train those people. And at the end of the day, it's her decision whether or not to do it. So it's not a reflection on me. And I think that if you can feel really secure that you have given them all of the best tools and tips and opportunities, if they choose not to do it, it's not a reflection on you, it's a reflection on them. So something that I had to learn pretty early on was that if I give people the best of what I can as a mentor, I give them every opportunity for training, I give them every opportunity for resources. If they don't take them and they fail, it's not on me as a mentor. It means that this wasn't a good fit for them. This wasn't meant for them right now in their life. And that's okay. So I'm going to move on to the next person and give them the same opportunity and then move on to the next. That work with the willing mentality. So I guess that's kind of it, but that's what I would say.
Yeah. I had a lot of those same ones. I mean, that was my very first point that I wanted to say is you can't think that your coach's success depends on you. It depends on them. And obviously we want to pour into our team as much as we can, but they have to meet you halfway. And if they don't, then that's, you can't let that attack your self-confidence. I had a few more. Some mistake that young mentors can make is that you're talking more than you're listening to your coaches. And that's a big mistake that I make all the time, because I have all these ideas and I want to give them all this training and I want to tell them all this advice. But if I'm not listening to my coaches and knowing where they're at, I can be talking their ear off about a problem that they don't have. And so that's a big one that I've had to learn to listen more than I talk to my coaches. And then also explaining, a mistake that sometimes young mentors make is we don't explain why. We don't set expectations and then explain why we're setting those expectations. I know for me, I was very nervous to really be a very strong leader in my team, in the sense that being like, hey guys, we need to post our trackers. Hey guys, we need to, this is what I expect of you. If you're a business building coach, show up for team calls, show up for this. And I didn't want to be that strong leader that not demands from my team to do stuff, because you guys are your own business owners. You do what you want with your business, but setting the expectation, because especially newer coaches can come in and be like, well, what do I need to do to be successful? And if I was like, well, just do your best, I wasn't being a good coach that set expectations for what a successful coach should be doing. But then at the same time, telling them why, explaining the why. And Simon Sinek did a talk 2 years ago in Summit about how people don't really, they're moved by whys, and giving my team, hey, I want you to show up for trainings because, this is where you're going to learn all those things that are going to give you the skills to really move forward. In your heart, you want to move forward, but if your skill isn't there, you're going to be stuck, and I don't want you to be stuck. And I was explaining how, we're on the same team. I want your success, and that's why I want you to be on team calls. And just giving that background, instead of just being frustrated that my coaches aren't doing work, but I've never set expectations and given them a why for why they should do these things. So I think that was a mistake that I made a lot of times, is being frustrated over things that I never even told my coaches that I wanted them to do, or that would be helpful for them to do. So yeah, and I think setting expectations is a big thing, especially for your if you're a mentor to someone, setting expectations on how often I would be available for one-on-one calls, how long those one-on-one calls would be, what we're going to talk about, how I'm going to be communicating with them, if I'm going to be able to communicate lickety-split or within 24 hours. Setting those expectations is part of being a leader and part of being a mentor. And it's just going to make things so much easier in your relationship when your coaches know what to expect from you and vice versa. So that way you don't have people all offended that you weren't doing certain things for them because you set very clear expectations. Well, this is what I do for all of my coaches. This is what you can expect from me as a mentor.
Can I tag something onto that?
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people, new coaches and coaches who've been a while, get nervous to be very firm as a mentor. But I think that a mistake a lot of people make is to not be clear, like you were saying, and not be firm. I remember the very first person, I can't tell you their name, but I remember the moment. The very first person who was asking me about coaching, and I was on the phone with them. And it was the first time I actually told them flat out what I wanted a new coach to do. And I was so nervous that they were not going to want to sign up, because I was like, oh, this sounds like a lot more work. Because we all want to be like, no, it's so fun and so easy. Come join my team, right? that's how we all want people to feel. But the truth of the matter is that it's going to take dedication and consistency if you really want to be someone who makes something out of this business, you know? So I was on the phone with her and I said, yeah, so, you know, if you join up with me as a coach, I'm going to get you plugged into my new coach training. It's going to help you learn all the basics. And I'm going to expect that you do my challenge group with me for the next 30 days, that you do your workout every day, you drink your Shakeology every day. I'm going to want you to read personal development. I ask all my coaches to read that. So we're going to pick out a book that's a good fit for you right now. And you're going to read either 10 pages or a chapter a day for the next month. And then as you're going through this challenge, I want you to document your progress and start sharing it. On Thursdays, we have a team call on, you know, we use our team page to talk. And I like laid it all out for her. And she was like, oh, awesome. That's really cool. And she ended up signing up. And I just remember I got off and I went to my success partner. I was like, I just had the most real moment where I told someone like exactly everything that I wanted them to do and they were okay with it. But I think we get so scared because we're like, I don't want them to think it's hard. I don't want to scare them off. But we set people up for failure because we don't really tell them what they need to do to be successful in this business. And even all of those things I just listed aren't hard. Like it's not hard to like watch people talking on a video at home in your PJs on Thursday. And it's not hard to read for a couple minutes, you know, and you already are contacting me to do a workout anyway. So that's not a shocker. But just laying it all out just to let people know. That was something Lindsay did for me. She told me about personal development the very first call before I signed up as a coach. She's like, you're going to read books. You're going to join my new coach training. You're going to join my challenge group. You're going to be in the team page. We do team calls. And I was like, okay. But it was great because it lets people know what they need to do and where they need to be. I hope this isn't like coming off the wrong way, but I view a lot of the mentor-mentee relationship a lot like parenting. You have to set really clear boundaries for your coaches, just like you do for your kids. Humans work really well in relationship with each other when we clearly know our boundaries with each other. Think about all the people in your life. All of your friends, all of your family, you feel most comfortable with relationships that have very clearly defined boundaries. When you meet someone new for the first time and you're like, do they like me back? Do I like them? Are we friends? Can we hug? Like, I don't know what we do here. Like, you feel really uncomfortable the whole time because you don't know the boundaries. But when you're around your husband, your sister, your best friend, a coworker, you have very clearly defined boundaries for the relationship. You know how to act. You know what's expected of you. And you feel so much freer in that relationship to enjoy yourself. It's the exact same here. You need to tell people, the best way to reach me is this. I don't work on the weekends. Don't expect an answer from me. That's my family time. We do team calls here. That's free training. So you definitely should be there. I'm going to ask you to read personal development. We're going to pick out a book together. So be prepared for that. All of those things, because then that new coach goes, okay, cool. I know what I'm supposed to do. Mm-hmm. Instead of signing up and being like, I don't know what to do with my hands. Like, what do I do? Where do I go? What do I post? What do I read? That's confusing. And then people quit because they don't know what direction to go in and they don't feel like they can get any traction. So not being afraid, like Vanessa said, to just speak up as a mentor. If you're a new coach and you feel like, well, I don't know enough to tell anybody what to do, you already know how to sign up as a coach because you already did it. You already know how to get plugged into a challenge group because you're in one. You know at least one or two personal developments that would be a good recommendation for them, so you can tell them that. You know that there are team calls. You know about Success Club. Look at all the things you can already teach them. Really, they don't need much more than that in their first month. So you've already got their first month covered, and now you have a month to get ahead of the curve to teach them what to do in month 2. So no excuses about, well, I'm new, I can't teach anybody, I'm just going to default to my upline for all the trainings. It's bull honky because this business isn't that hard. You're always going to be ahead of them if you're consistent and you're working, and you can always teach them what you just learned, and that's really all they need to know. So
awesome. Yes. Okay, so to close it out, what are some common mistakes that mentees make and that they should avoid? So if you are being mentored by someone, what are some common mistakes?
Okay, so some common mistakes. Let's see. When I was a new coach, I asked Lindsay every question, which I'm sure was super annoying to her and was annoying to me because she didn't readily answer them really quickly. So I think as a mentee, becoming your own advocate for learning is really huge, because when you're waiting around for someone else to answer you, you're wasting time, because most of the things that you need can be found just by searching Google or searching your team pages. If it's something that's super weird and tricky and confusing, then obviously, you might not be able to find the answer to that on your own. But I mean, like 98% of questions you could find the answer in Google. But what I did was I was just too lazy, and I knew that Lindsay was there, so I asked her a question. And I do it with my success partners all the time. It's a bad habit. But I'll be like, just today, I was like, hey, for leadership, if we got the elite bonus, is it just Wednesday or is it all the hotel days? And Nikki was like, did you even look at the app? And I was like, no, I was just asking you because I'm being lazy. And it was like a little smack in the butt from my success partner to go find answers for myself instead of making them do my work for me. But I used to do that with Lindsay all the time. And then I'd get frustrated when she didn't answer me because I'd be like, I need this answer so I can move forward, when it literally would have taken me 2 seconds to Google it and find it. So I think that is a common mistake. I think that you should feel confident finding answers for yourself because most of them are out there. And you can always go in the team page and be like, hey, I was looking up the answer for this and I found this. Does this look right to everybody else? And you'll probably get an answer faster because there's more people in there than your mentor seeing their message on their phone. Another one that I think mentees can make is thinking that their success is dependent on their upline. So whether you have a great mentor, I think this is what happens both ways. If you have an incredible mentor and you think, I'm going to sign up with this person and I'm going to be a top 10 coach just because they're my coach, that's not entirely true. And if you sign up and you don't really click with your mentor, or you don't feel like they're there for you, or maybe they quit and you're kind of left floundering, you go, well, I don't have an upline, so now I can't be good at this. Both of them are untrue. Both of them are completely untrue. And both of them have been proved incorrect lots and lots of times. Lindsay jokes all the time that the worst recruiting year she ever had was 2014. It was the year after she was top coach, because everybody that signed up with her in 2014, save for, a small handful, thought that they were going to ride her coattails and have success without having to work. And they ended up quitting because none of them wanted to work hard. They just thought, I'm going to sign up with the top coach and I'm just going to get overflow from her awesomeness without having to do anything. So I think that just knowing that having a good upline, that's awesome. Having no upline, whatever. It's your business at the end of the day. And all of the resources are out there, whether or not you have access to a really amazing mentor that you love and you click with, or whether you don't. If you decide you want to be successful, then that's all you really need.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Those were 2 things that were on my list too. But I do feel like there are 2 different kinds of coaches. The coach that asks every question and doesn't Google. And then on the other side, the coach who always thinks, well, my mentor's too busy, so I don't want to bother her with this issue that I'm having or this problem that I'm having. And you're just stuck in a rut and never saying anything. And so I think definitely a common mistake that some mentees can make is just that timidness to not want to reach up to their upline when they're really stuck and they're really having trouble moving forward. And just, I don't even have a super huge team, but it's hard for me to keep track of where everyone is at. But I so appreciate it when my coaches reach out to me and say, hey, I need some help. I need some strategy. I need some whatever. And I'm more than happy to pour into them. But if you're sitting around waiting for your mentor to reach out to you, you might be waiting for a while. And, don't tell yourself, oh, they're just too busy. They're too busy. I'm not going to reach out. I'm not going to reach out. Especially if you're really stuck and having some issues.
That's a great point. Kind of conversely, don't be afraid. Don't think oh, Becca said to Google everything myself, so I can never ask anybody questions.
Yeah.
There's balance.
Well,
and
yeah.
I think that there are a lot of coaches who are too afraid. I've had lots of coaches quit afterwards, and when I reach out to them, I'm like, hey, what happened? We were doing good. And they were like, yeah, I just got really hung up on this. I was like, you could have asked me. I would have helped you. And they were like, well, I just didn't want to bug you. I didn't want to bother you. And I was like, that was an easily fixable problem. And so I think not being scared, when you are really stuck is great. Here's one that I think is really good is there are two different types of relationships in this business. And it's super important to have both. A mentor relationship and success partner relationships. And they're different and beautiful in two different ways. You probably will not be success partners with your mentor just because it kind of is a weird dynamic to mix those two things. I don't know a lot of people who do it effectively. But they're beautiful for two different reasons. So when you're having a really horrible month or day and you are like, everything sucks, nobody's answering me, everybody's ghosting on me, I don't think I'm going to hit Success Club, I don't know how I'm going to do this, I don't know if I'm cut out for that, that is a conversation for you to have with your success partners. Because those are the people that are going to be like, no, you're awesome, here's what we're doing, let's band together, here's an idea, you can do it. Is not a conversation to have with your mentor, because that is not a question or anything that they can help you with. That's just an emotional dump. And it's just, there's no way your mentor can help you. When people send me messages like this now, I usually read them and just don't answer for like a day, because I know that they're going to realize like that wasn't actually a question. There's nothing Becca can really help me with here. And usually what happens is I read them, and then the next day, if they haven't said anything, I write like, okay, well, you know, how are we going to find a solution to this problem? Like, let's be solution minded. You didn't really ask me a question there, but here's the direction we're going to go. And most of the time people are like, I'm sorry, I was just having a bad moment. Like, I shouldn't have, you know, freaked out, because they realize like that was just an emotional moment. But there's not really anything your mentor can help you with there. So if you are feeling that way and you just need to dump, and you just need to have someone say like, I feel the same way, I totally get you, that's a success partner conversation. If you're feeling that way and you need someone to help you come up with an idea to get out of this, or you don't know what you're doing wrong and you need someone to help you pinpoint it, that's a conversation for your mentor. But they're phrased in two totally different ways. So if you're feeling that way and you phrase it the way I just said, that goes to success partners. If you're feeling that way and you can say, I've been doing my vital behaviors, I've been tracking, I've been following up, and everybody seems to be ghosting on me. Can you look at my messages and tell me if there's anything I could be saying better? Could you look at my Facebook and tell me if I'm missing something? Have you noticed anything that I could be doing better? That's a great conversation for your mentor, because now they can say, okay, like, let's figure something out. Let's be solution oriented. Mm-hmm. So two totally different relationships, both super valuable, neither of them wrong. Sometimes you do just need to be like, I suck at everything, and have someone be like, no, you're awesome, you need to be here, we love you. That's what success partners are for. Super important. And sometimes you just need someone to be able to help you with an idea. And that's what your mentor is for. So I think that it's really important to have both relationships, but kind of understand the boundaries of both, because you're not going to get anything out of them if you use them wrong. If you go to your success partners and you're constantly asking them to evaluate your business, they're going to get really frustrated with you and be like, I'm not your mentor, like, figure it out. And if you're constantly going to your mentor and emotionally dumping on them, they're going to get frustrated with you and be like, let's find a solution. Let's not be negative Nellies all the time. So as a mentee, having both those relationships and knowing who to go to when you're stuck is really important.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback on that, I every time that I go to Becca, to my mentor, I always think, what do I want to get out of this interaction or this call? Like, what is it that I'm looking for her to provide me with? And then that helps me also when I go to her, like, if I need help with expanding my network or whatever, then I'm not just going to go to her and be like, I don't know how to expand my network, Becca. I'm going to go to her and be like, okay, this is what my reach is on Facebook. Like, I'm going to go to her with data, with information, so that she can take a look at it and give me help. And so, you know, it's really just about respecting your mentor and their time, and having actual goals that you want to get out of their conversation with them, and having stats and data and information that you're bringing to them, so you guys can both get the most out of your time together, and it's going to be really profitable. And I would even, like, before I would have calls with her, like, have literally written down goals that I want to have, because also, you know, Becca and I we're friends, so sometimes we would just be like chatting for like 20 minutes, and I'm like, oh crap, like, this is my time with her, like, I want to get, and not that that's bad, because I do it with my coaches also where we're just chatting, and that's great. That's awesome. But I wanted to make sure that I had goals that we were talking about. And if I wanted to ask her about volume, that I had my volume numbers already pulled and already ready to go to talk to her or sent them ahead of time. Because, yes, this is a relational business, but it's also still a business. And I always think of my calls with my mentor as a business meeting. And we have goals. We want to accomplish things. We're going to look at numbers, or we're going to look at whatever strategy. And that's just because I take my business seriously, and I know Becca takes her business seriously, and we want to move forward. We want our calls to actually accomplish things that are going to make our business better. And so that's just something that I didn't think of until I read a personal development book that talks about this relationship. And I was like, oh crap, like I'm just kind of like winging it. Like, hey Becca, let's have a call. Let's chat about our businesses. And, that's fine in some respects, but then it turned on this light bulb of like, okay, I really want to respect Becca's time, and I really want to get the most from my time with her by having goals, by having objectives, by having information ready to go. And so I think that's just made our relationship pretty great. And we don't have a ton of one-on-one calls. Like, it's not like we chat all the time. And I'm totally fine with that because I've got a lot on my plate. But I know that whenever I need something, that Becca's there, that she's going to give me some good guidance. I still have like very clear memories of certain things that she's told me in the past. And so it's just helped me tremendously to have this relationship, and I take it very seriously. And so I hope that this call has been helpful. Becca, I don't know if you have any like closing thoughts or I don't know, anything you want to say.
I would just say, I think more than anything, just if I could sum up all the tips that have been shared, it's just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to be a bold mentor. Don't be afraid to be a mentee. Don't be afraid to lead your coaches. Don't be afraid to have a mentoring relationship. Like you can be friends with people and still be a good mentor. Vanessa and I are friends. When we're on trips, we hang out, we talk, we chat, we brainstorm. But when we're both at home working our businesses, we also work our businesses, And Vanessa has her success partners that I know she talks to like all the time, way more than she talks to me. And it's the same with me and Lindsay, like when Lindsay and I are on trips and we're hanging out around the pool, we're hanging out. If we're, at an event together, we're chatting, but I don't talk to her all the time when we're here. And that's fine too. Like if I need something, I can. I was actually just scrolling through my messages because it's funny. Sometimes when I send her things that don't have clear questions, she just never writes me back. Like I was telling you, like it's great to have like a purpose, like Vanessa was saying, for your mentor. That's something that Lindsay also does. She also answers me in questions a lot, which is like frustrating when you're frustrated, but super helpful when you're working through a problem. So I'll like send her something with a question and she'll be like, well, what have you done for this? What is the solution to that problem? And I was like, I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. But it's good because it forces you to work through it. But I would just say don't be afraid. So no matter if you signed up as a coach yesterday and this is your first team call, or if you've been a coach for a long time, or if you've been a coach and every single person you mentored quit and now you feel like you're a horrible leader, it doesn't matter. Like just don't be afraid from this point forward to be a mentor. If you feel like you don't have a great mentoring relationship for whatever reason, then be the mentor you wish you had. Start it with you, right? Build the culture that you want to have for yourself. Have that experience with all of your coaches moving forward. Don't let it hold you back. That was something I felt in the beginning when I was frustrated that I didn't have access to Lindsay more. I was like, you know what? I'm going to build the culture I want to have with all of my coaches. And while I have super valuable things from Lindsay, I do mentor in a slightly different way. I still am more available just because I have a different personality type than Lindsay does. And I built the culture that I wanted to have. Our team is a little bit different than the Bombshell Dynasty as a group. We're close, but we're slightly different. Because I built the culture that I wanted to have, and you can do the exact same things. It doesn't have to be exactly the same as the Shine Tribe. It doesn't have to be exactly the same as the Arrow Tribe or as the Bombshell Dynasty. Whatever it is that you want, you can go and build that. So just don't be afraid to take that initiative either way, to be the leader, you know, to say, here's what we're going to do. Here's what I expect from you. Here's what is a good next move for you. Don't talk yourself out or tell yourself you're not good enough for that or you're not far enough along for that, because in fact, you absolutely 100% are. And people need it. Just like kids need parents to be their parents and not their best friends. You know, like your coaches need you to be the leader so they can see how to be a leader. One of the things that, it wasn't Lindsay, I just learned it at some training really early on, was that if you're so frustrated because you have no leaders on your team, look at what you're doing. Like, are you showing people how to be a leader? Because they're going to follow you, speed of the leader, speed of the pack. So what are the behaviors you're modeling? Like, are you being bold? Are you going out there and, you know, running your own things? Are you showing them how to do it? So don't be afraid to take that initiative from day one.
And I'm so glad you said that, because I did want to give you guys, I hope that with this call, we gave you guys a little bit of a behind the scenes, like, view of how our relationship is. But I also want to give you guys the freedom to sort of define your own, like, take the good, the bad, the whatever experiences that we've had, take it all in, and then go over it with yourself and be like, what kind of relationship do I want to have as a mentor? What kind of relationship do I want to have with my mentor? What kind of culture do I want to create in my team? And I think that's part of being a leader, because you have to envision it, you have to define it before you can see it manifest as a reality in your team. And so these are really good things to be thinking about, and to kind of know what you want before you even really get going and have that team. You've got to sort of know what you want to see. And I know Becca asked me that question, like, what do you want the Shine Tribe to be? Make me a Pinterest board of like what you like what is it that you want of your tribe? And she asked me that years ago, and now I'm starting to see it actually come to life. But if she wouldn't have challenged me to actually think through that, I don't know that we would even be here today. And so and that's my challenge to you guys, is what kind of tribe do you want to have? What kind of team do you want to have? Even if you have no coaches under you, knowing that is what's going to start you acting as a leader of that type of tribe and attracting those type of people into your life and into your team.
Can I know some people are on their phone, so I can't see you, but those of you who I can see you, how many of you guys have coaches under you already? Have coaches just in your team under you? Like you have one or two? 1, 2, 3. Perfect. How many of you guys have been coaches for more than a month? Awesome. So every single one of you then has the full capacity and knowledge to be an incredible mentor to the coaches that you sign up under you. That's super exciting for all of you guys. I mean, you guys have already loads of information that you can pass on to your new coaches. How many of you feel as if you are not at whatever it is that you want to be a leader to coaches that sign up under you? Good. Oh, 2. Still good. I think that this is a really great area for personal development. If this is something you struggle with, there are some really good leadership books. John Maxwell has a bunch that are really, really good. What was one I read recently? Where are my books? There's one I read recently that was really good. I'll try and find it when I go inside. My brain is not functioning.
Yeah, I love John Maxwell. I highly recommend anything by him. EntreLeadership by David.
This is the one. That's what I was trying to think of.
That's a really good one.
That's one of Lindsay's favorite leadership books of all time. She went crazy when she was reading that book. She started all these EntreLeadership training groups. It was EntreLeadership everything. So that's a really good one too. That's by the budget guy, isn't it?
Yeah, Dave Ramsey. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. That was a revolutionary one for me too. And a different perspective, because he's really talking about building a business, like an actual kind of almost like a physical business where you have employees and stuff, but a lot of good nuggets in there.
You, Marlena and Gabby, the two of you guys that raised your hands saying you feel nervous being leader, what is your personality gem?
We just did this.
Pearl. Gabby, did you say pearl? Marlena, ruby, sapphire. Girl, you're a ruby. You've got leadership in your blood. And sapphire. So you like fun, games, yes?
Parties.
Making everything fun. Yeah. If it's too many rules and boring, then you don't like it. That's great. Haley, yours is pearl and sapphire. Okay, so we got some pearl and some sapphire as our running thread here between everybody. So I think that's something that can be really a common thing is a lot of people who are pearls and sapphires feel like they can't be good leaders for kind of two different reasons. A lot of people who are sapphires struggle with it because they don't like the drudgery of it. You know, like they don't like having to do anything that's just not fun and what they want to do at that second. My husband is a sapphire to the core, and it is maddening to no doubt that for me when he just won't do things because it's just not fun for him. I'm like, well, this is life. Like, sorry. I'm not a sapphire though, so it's hard for me. But sapphires have struggled with this because they feel like, I don't want to tell people what they have to do. Like, I don't want to be the firm person. Like, let's just have fun. Let's just like go with the flow. And so that can be a struggle. And pearls, a lot of the time, they have a hard time because pearls are not super driven by all of the shiny things that Beachbody has. So for pearls, it can be hard to be a leader because they feel like, I don't want to like offend anybody. I don't want to push anybody. I don't want to make anybody feel like they're not good enough if they don't hit these milestones. And I haven't hit all these milestones, so who am I to talk to them about all these milestones? That is kind of where pearls can get tripped up. But both of these personality types have incredible leadership potential, like insane, because sapphires are fun leaders. So Lindsay Stay is an incredible leader who is a sapphire, like incredible. She's one of the top earners in the company. She is so fun. She is so empathetic, so bubbly. All of the stuff for her team is always just hilarious. And it looks like they're all just having the time of their life. And while she may not be the most organized, while she may not be the most, like, let's plan it, let's get there as soon as possible, she has figured out how to leverage that side of her personality to be an incredible leader. So if you're a sapphire, don't be afraid to make it fun. Like, you don't have to do it the same way as your mentor did, who might be a different personality than you. So if you're a sapphire, be like, look, we're going to make a game out of this personal development. Here's what we're going to pick. Why don't you do a podcast instead of a book? Because if you don't want to just sit and read, like, let's make something fun. You can make games out of all of the different incentives. Sapphires are so creative when it comes to like success club games and inviting games, and make it fun, just use that part of your personality to make coaching something that people really enjoy doing. That is a huge, huge, huge benefit that you have as that personality. Now, pearls, you guys, not necessarily the game part, but for you guys, you are incredible leaders because you are so empathetic. Pearls are basically our empaths. They're the people who really listen, who really understand. They're like the Labradors of the personality world. Loyal, loving, always there, always listening, always caring. And you're incredible leaders because people can really connect to you. And a lot of pearl leaders, when they really step into their leadership, have connections that last, right? Like when you form that connection, you are connected to a pearl. Like, you are an incredible leader because you're going to remember details that rubies forget. You're going to remember that last time you talked to that person, they were struggling with this, where ruby's already moved on to like the 10 next things and has forgotten, right? That is like a ruby issue that we have to deal with. And where a sapphire couldn't be bothered, like, oh, that wasn't fun. I don't remember what that was about. Like, that conversation was too long ago now. So you have such an incredible capacity, but you have to just not be afraid. You have to not be afraid of speaking the truth in love. You have to not be afraid of boundaries. Pearls are really bad at putting boundaries out there and telling people no. And that is, going to be your struggle as a leader, but also where you shine. So if you guys are those personalities, don't feel like you have to squeeze yourself to look like Vanessa, who is a ruby, or to look like me, who's a ruby, or to look like someone else who's a different completely different leadership style than you. You can maximize your strengths and downplay your weaknesses and be an incredible leader, even if it looks different. Chelsea Pearson, for all of you guys who are pearls, is an incredible, very, very pearl leader. If you guys want to look her up and maybe look up some of her trainings on YouTube and her team calls, very much leading with the heart, very much people-centered. Like I said, she leads her team very much from a growing volume and not necessarily rank, because she is Pearl. So you could go, if you're Pearl and you struggle, I bet you would love reading her stuff and looking at her stuff and learning from her.
Yeah, I love Chelsea. She's really good. Thank you so much, Becca. This was great.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, this was really fun, and just fun to reminisce about our relationship and how it's evolved over the years.
No, we're coming up on our third friendiversary.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah, it was Valentine's Day. Yeah, guys, I hope that this served you, and as you build relationships both up and down, I guess, that it was helpful for you guys. And I will be posting this recording. I think this is a great one to have in your archives, even as you build your team, to help set those expectations with your team as far as what kind of relationship you want with them. So have a great night, guys. Thanks for being on the call. And thanks, Becca, again for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.